those that know me and my family pretty well know that these aren't just songs, but they're stories and they're testimonies of a long road. And just to give you guys a little, backstory, me and my wife, we've gone through a lot, but I'll try to give you the Reader's Digest version. So, growing up in a pastor's son, typical, church family. And then, so not a whole lot to really talk about there, just your typical church family. And then when I was 15, I had a 10-year-old sister that got cancer, and she ended up dying. And that whole 6-month process of her being, in and out of Shands Hospital and going through bone marrow transplants and all that stuff, it kind of erects you a little bit because you're praying, you're standing on the Word, you're believing, and then she doesn't get healed. So it kind of jacks your theology up, So you move past things and you try to, try to make sense of God in some way. You try to say, well, this doesn't really make sense to me, but I know not serving God seems stupid, so I've got to figure out how this works. So you end up kind of distancing yourself. God, the trust is kind of broken a little bit there. And you go on through life. And then I meet my wife, and we decide to have children. And so we go through the process of, doing that. You think it's just going to happen the first night. But that's not life. So you go through that, and we end up having miscarriage. It was, it was hard. We kind of pick up the pieces, try again, have another miscarriage. I'm like, man, this is strange. I don't really know what's going on here. So I remember just praying, never harder than my life. And we get pregnant again. We have a beautiful son, Isaac. He was literally a miracle. And so we enjoy Isaac, and we enjoy him for a year and a half. And we decide, well, we're going to try again for another one. Miscarriage. 4 miscarriages. So here we are, 6 miscarriages, and I'm under 30. I'm like, man, I don't know how much I can take. So miscarriage after miscarriage, there was this disconnect with me and God, because here I am still trying to make sense of things. And being a worship pastor, being a pastor, anything of the sort, it messes with you because you know what you're supposed to believe, you know what you're supposed to do, but you really don't feel it. Your heart's broken, and you go through the motions. How you doing, brother? I'm great. You really don't really want to know. That's how it is. And we put on these fronts, and finally just came to a point where all this was going on, and my dad, pastor, my mentor, ends up falling into adultery and ends up leaving the ministry, leaving my mom, leaving everything. And so just all this pressure, and I was like, I just can't deal with this anymore, because that doesn't fit in my God box, So we go through all of that, trying to heal as much as we possibly can. Finally, I just stepped away from everything. I stepped away from ministry. Said, I can't do this anymore. So I take a sabbatical, which I thought was about a month. It ends up being 2 years. Not anything, any leadership, no ministry, no nothing. So for 2 years, I'm just trying to get healed and whole and to a place where I'm healthy again. And this was about the time of our 4th miscarriage. I was done. I was so mad at God and just bitter that I just said, I don't even care if I never step foot in the church again, I'm done. And then ironically, I meet this guy. And we ended up actually shooting a wedding together, both photographers. And ironically, we were just at the same wedding. And if there had been anybody that had been like churchy, came up to me, I probably would have punched him in the face. You know what you're supposed to do, get back into church, you're straying from the Lord, blah, blah, blah. And I was so mad, and I didn't want anything that tasted or looked like that. I was just done. So here we are shooting this wedding, and here's a guy that tattooed up, just didn't even look like your typical Christian guy. But he starts literally just not spitting off Christianese, but sharing love. Hear my heart. Hear my story. I'm going to get through this. And he pierced dark places that like no one has ever pierced. And it wasn't because of an agenda. It wasn't because he wanted to be his worship leader. He wanted to be his friend. It was because he saw someone broken. He said, he needs to be free. So he invites us over to their house, and me and my wife go over there. And what started off as dinner ended up being on our faces for like 2 hours, just praying for us. And they just poured out their hearts. And I'm like, I don't even know these people. After 10 minutes of praying, I feel awkward. I'm like, you should not be giving me all of this. This is too much. And I'm like, I just have never received this before. So anyway, there was so much that started that night. And just the healing process. But that God still was away. You know, I was able to feel the love of Christ through a brother that I never felt before. But God was still far off. I still didn't trust him. So we go through another miscarriage, and at this point I remember being so just, because you kind of see the light at the end of the tunnel, like maybe things are different. And I just get mad again. And I remember being so mad. I'm sitting on the floor in my office. You know, I work from home, so I'm there all the time. And I was literally cussing at the top of my lungs. Words I've never said before to the Lord. And I was like, how could you do this? Just pour my heart out. And at that moment, it was so strange because I didn't feel condemnation. I didn't feel judgment. I felt the grace and loving arms of Jesus. And he said, finally I see your heart. Finally I see who you are. Not this coming into the church trying to pretend like you know who I am. Just being who you are. And then he just brought me back to the Psalms and how David cried his heart out, cursing the Lord. And at the end, there would be this beautiful refrain of just how the Lord, his love and mercy embraced him. And he was able to see, yeah, you are good, Father. You are good. And I've never been in that place. It was all this had to do and had to look and had to whatever. I didn't even know who God was. So it set me on this course to where God showed me I never knew his character. I never knew who he really was. I never knew who I was. So at that moment, I just trashed everything. I said, everything I know about God, everything I think, I'm trashing it. And I asked God, I said, I want you to restore who I am in your eyes. Not for anybody else, not who I think I am. Tell me who I am. And tell me who you are. Literally show me who you are. And in that, I found that God, the Lord is good in the good times and the bad. He's beautiful. He's so gracious. He's so loving. There's a lot of people here right now who, you look at a place where you're going through a circumstance. Maybe you're going through a sickness. Maybe you're going through a hard time. And you're trying to make sense of it all. And you even put that label on yourself saying, well, God's trying to teach me discipline. God's trying to, because it's the only thing that makes sense. It's like God's trying to teach me something. Well, I'm telling you, would I ever allow my son to go get hit by a car in traffic to teach him something? And the spiritual father's love is so much greater than mine. Like, this is a human. I don't even know what love is, but I would never do that to my son. I would never allow him to go in there and just say, well, look, Isaac just needs to learn something. That's not the heart of the Father. And I'm telling you right now, I believe there. I've been bound by that. And God had to open my eyes that there's a true enemy who's trying to destroy you. He wants nothing more than to kill your soul. And we lose sight of this and we blame God because he's not this genie in a bottle that we rub and we say, hey, I want this. And he doesn't get it. So guess what? We get bitter. Oh, it must be God's problem. Must be God. All the while, here's God's umbrella of protection. We've gotten so bitter, we moved over here and we're pointing fingers at God. And he's like, you do not understand. Your promises await you right here. They're already been spoken for. From the day the blood spilled on the ground, he said, you are free. You walked away and believed a lie. He said, come home. And he's calling his children back so that we can see that he is good, that we can see that he is faithful. So we try again. We said, this is it. We're going to try to have another baby. And we were like done. We said we're happy with one. But actually, no, this one we didn't even say. We just got found out pregnant. We didn't even talk for 2 days. She threw me the pregnancy test at me. I was like, I don't even know what to do with this. So we didn't even speak for 2 days. And then we were like, we got to talk this, address this. So we're like, all right, we're doing this. It was so clear. It was so funny. Pastor Kenny's here from Crestview was just randomly here on a Sunday night, and he's speaking, and he calls me out, and it was so prophetic and so profound what he spoke into my life. But that night the Lord said, what wouldn't you do to save this child? You're asking all the time, you're saying that God has to be a certain way, he has to be all these plans, but what wouldn't you do to the command of the Lord? I said nothing. He said, fast for 40 days for this child. And I was like, okay, but why? He said, you don't understand. The devil's been stealing your seed, stealing your legacy, stealing what the Lord has called your family to accomplish on this earth. He's stealing it. And you're back pointing your fingers at the Lord, and the Lord's trying to mend it and secure what he's already given to you. He said, the only thing that's going to be broken is through prayer and fasting. So I said, okay. I did it, and I remember even a week after I started the fast, Christy's body's going through this miscarriage again. She was terrified, devastated. We go to the hospital, and she's already talking about, we need to schedule the DNC. We need to just take care of this. And I know she's mad at me because the whole time I'm singing, Lord, you are good. I'm like, I believe. I said, he will not set me on this course to fail. If the word of the Lord speaks to you, it's because there's a promise. He don't do anything in vain. He doesn't do that. So we're there, and they do the ultrasound. They said, we have to do an ultrasound. We just wait and see. Do the ultrasound. Little baby Jude's kicking in there. Perfect heartbeat. She's like, she's bawling. I don't understand. And so that's the point. We're not supposed to understand the ways of the Lord. And here all this time, I'm trying to understand it. So we finished that fast out, and we have a beautiful, right there on the floor, a beautiful baby, healthy boy named Jude. And even to the point of having him, there's all these plans that I was given to the Lord. Lord, if we have this baby, we have to have it naturally. We aren't doing epidural no more. There's all these things. Wouldn't you know, we're in the hospital, and they have to do an emergency C-section, which is the one thing we're not doing. We can't do that, people. We can't do it. It's not what we prayed for. We had this emergency C-section, and in that moment, the Lord's just presence and peace rushed in there. And he said, I'm not bound by worldly agendas. Lazarus was in the grave for how long? He said, that's why Jesus wasn't in any hurry, because it didn't matter. He said, it doesn't matter to me. Lazarus' promise has already been spoken for. What do I have to be in any hurry for? He just walked up there and said, get up. And it's the same. Epidural, C-section, whatever your thing, whatever treatments, cancer, whatever you're battling, it doesn't matter. God's promises are on the other side, and God doesn't sit there and ordain these things. I'm going to give someone cancer. The thing is it's in your life because it doesn't even matter to God. God's promises are true for you. You need to walk in the destiny the Lord has for you, and stop focusing so much on the circumstance and give glory to the Lord. And that's what these songs are. This next song is called Just a Little Bit Longer. And in this time of fasting, God was saying, just a little bit longer. If you wait just a little bit longer, you will see who I am. You will see the true character of the Father. You will see who I really am, and you will see it in your Son. And I just waited and sang this song until he was born. And it's like I got it. I got it who he truly is. So here we go.